Brian Cox was a demonic tycoon in Succession, but could he survive supernatural possession? I know I barely did. We're talking about The Parenting on Grover Served. Hi, I'm Tanner Grover. This past weekend, I went over to Max, formerly known as HBO Max, to check out the new horror comedy, The Parenting, directed by Craig Johnson and written by Ken Sublett, whom I blame both for being a complete waste. It was the waste of a good premise, a waste of a great cast, and just a general waste of time. But before we get into all the details, if you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, the same way that I wanted to smash my head through the TV, that'd be much appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and click the notification bell so hopefully more of me shows up in your feed. Just a quick heads up, Grover Served is not a spoiler-free channel, which, let's be honest, that's pretty considerate of me to warn you. You know what's not considerate? The fact that no one warned me that this film was going to suck so much ass. So, here's the gist of it. The Parenting, which is a play on the horror movie franchise The Conjuring, is the story of Rohan and Josh, played by Nik Dodani and Brandon Flynn, respectively. This gay couple has rented out an Airbnb. It's a big mansion in the middle of kind of nowhere, and they're looking to introduce their parents to one another for the very first time. Little do Rohan and Josh know that the mansion that they're about to stay in for the weekend has been haunted by a demon that was summoned in the 1980s by an unsuspecting family. The mother, son, and daughter were all slain. So, as I mentioned, we have the premise for a pretty good movie. This is The Exorcist meets Meet the Parents, and the parents are really a grade A cast. We have Rohan's parents, Frank and Sharon, played by Brian Cox and Edie Falco. They've held Rohan to a pretty high standard his entire life, which kind of explains why he's so uptight. On the other hand, we have Liddy and Cliff, played by Lisa Kudrow and Dean Norris. They've taken kind of a laissez-faire approach to raising Josh, which is why he's kind of a wallflower. We find out that Josh has quit his job and is now trying to make music. That's much to the dismay of Rohan, who really wants to make a good impression on his own parents this weekend. You see, Rohan is planning a surprise wedding proposal for Josh, but he wants things to go off without a hitch. That plan takes a back seat when things go awry rather quickly. Upon arrival, Rohan and Josh encounter the kooky caretaker Brenda, played by Parker Posey. Brenda, not so subtly, makes an ordeal out of the mansion's Wi-Fi password, where, upon being repeated, summons a demon that possesses Frank. From here on out, it's supposed to be a roller coaster of fun where Rohan and Josh and the gang exorcise Frank, send the demon back to hell, unite the two families, and then waltz off into marital bliss and happily ever after. Right? Wrong. Instead, what we get are just a bunch of unfunny gags. We have projectile vomiting, we have homophobic slurs, a bunch of dick jokes. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me some sophomore humor, but this is just bad script writing. And what's with all the elongated pauses in the dialogue? I read one review of this film that was actually praising it for having realistic conversations that elicited dramatic effect. Why would we want that out of a horror comedy? You know, we've had some great ones in recent memory. Lisa Frankenstein, Bodies, 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 or even Totally Killer. The Parenting just doesn't hit on any cylinder. It's a real disappointment, especially given the cast. Now, I wasn't into the protagonist of this film. Rohan was way too whiny, and Josh was kind of an airhead. But the rest of the cast, they're all stellar HBO alum. Brian Cox, Succession, Edie Falco, she was friggin' Carmela on The Sopranos. That character is iconic. Lisa Kudrow in The Comeback. Dean Norris was in a season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. This year, we have Parker Posey killing it on The White Lotus. So what happened? Did these people just not feel connected to the script? Were they just collecting a paycheck? Now listen, I know this isn't a vampire film, but for all intents and purposes, the parenting just sucked. So now it's time for me to rate this pile of hot garbage. But before I do, if you could go ahead and subscribe to the channel, especially if you had fun listening to me rant today, that'd be real swell. And while you're at it, go ahead and let me know in the comments if you've seen the parenting. If you have, I'm sorry. I feel you, I hear you, and I see you. All right, we're going to have to go ahead and give this film 5 glasses. That's right, it's going to take you a full bottle of wine to get through it. Thank God that the liver is the most resilient organ in the body. And let's all take a moment to pray that they don't conjure up a sequel to this god-awful film. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in to Grover Served.